Hello everyone, my name is Jack, and this is my global politics presentation on China and its environment in the last few decades, starting from roughly the 1980s to about present day. For this presentation, I'll be looking at three different problems of China's environment, the first being air pollution, and for this I'm mostly going to be focusing on coal burning and its effects on the people living nearby, as well as the atmosphere. For water contamination, I'll be looking at the negative effects industrial waste has had on China's riverways, and for land degradation, I'll be looking at land desertification of much of China's land and its negative effects. So, starting with air pollution, this presentation is focusing on the burning of coal in China, as is the single largest source of air pollution in China today. For comparison, China currently now burns as much coal as the rest of the world combined. Negatively affecting air quality in the country has been proven by many different studies. There are serious negative effects to those who live in areas in China with heavy air pollution. The most obvious is that it compromises a person's health over a long period of time, most notable being a person's lungs after they breathe in these pollutants on a regular basis. The end result is that each year in China currently, air pollution directly kills 1.6 million people. Not only does this air pollution have a direct consequence to people living in areas near the coal-burning facilities, but it also directly affects the international community, as the carbon dioxide released by these plants have a well-known effect on global climate change, and the negative consequences to everyone in their environments. What China needs to do to combat the air pollution issues is rather quite simple. It needs to reduce the amount of coal it burns on a yearly basis, and the most effective way to do this is to switch to clean energy, and China is currently doing this. Notable examples being the Three Gorges Dam in China for hydroelectric power and the creation of multiple nuclear power plants in the country as well. Though they do pose several different risks on their own to the environment. Hydroelectric power is well known to disrupt much of the local environment to the dams, especially in creation of the reservoirs in order for them to function. And nuclear power has a well-known negative consequence of long-term waste management and to ensure that toxic waste is handled both now and in decades in the future. However, these negative effects are much preferable to the negative effects produced by coal and the burning of it. Though this will take a long period of time. The replacement of coal power plants is expensive and costly in both money and time, due to the fact that China just can't suddenly cut the amount of coal it uses on a yearly basis, as that would have a catastrophic effect on their economy. As such, most of China's government is doing the very slow and incremental approach to this issue, trying to replace these coal factories over the long term instead of doing immediate replacements. Of the two issues, unlike air pollution, water contamination is a major issue that is continuing to get worse to this day. Notable example being comparing levels in 2003 to 2015. In 2003, about a quarter of the water was unsafe to consume. In 2015, that same category was increased to nearly 2/3. This is not only unsafe to drink, but it's unsafe for any purpose and even human contact itself. And the total amount of undrinkable water in 2015 was 85% of the city's rivers. This is not just rivers, mind you. This also affects the city's groundwaters. This situation is so severe that 1/3 of the country is being forced to consume this unsafe water. This is notably people living in rural areas as well as people who are very poor. A significant amount of this water pollution is caused primarily by industrial industries dumping various waste into the waters itself, even ignoring regulations itself. An example here I have is in a 2000 report, a chemical industry in the province had disposed of 5 tons of chemical waste. However, despite this being known and people talking about it, nothing was ever done to this company to reprimand it for its actions. Moving forward, China has a lot of work to do in order to improve the country's water. An article that I've been referencing really outlines what needs to be done very well. First, China must release all data of public water contamination to the public, not just information on the best and worst cities. Also, the government must also set standards for improvement and hold officials and companies to them. And if a company decides to violate any laws regarding water pollution, as I did mention earlier in this presentation, they must be punished, as if the laws are not enforced, no company will ever continue to follow them. Next, with the land desertification, I thought that would be best to explain how the land degrades over time to a desert-like state. In short, this is the removal of topsoil and subsoil from the ground, leaving the remaining ground, primarily the weathered rock fragments and bedrock, with little ability to sustain life. The reason why topsoil and subsoil is so critical is because this is where all life lives and dies in the soil, because when a plant dies in the ground, it decays and becomes in the nutrients in the soil which further plants will go from. If this is removed, further plants cannot get the nutrients they will to survive, because plants cannot just survive on sunlight and water. In China, this land degradation is largely caused by the overfarming of the land over time, stripping the ground of critical topsoil required for further vegetation growth. Alright, for trying to solve this problem, there are several steps that are required to fix this issue. However, due to the immense scale, there are certain problems. However, to progress with this, they need to first establish seed banks in order to reintroduce many selected species into the reduced lands. And finally, they have to counter the erosion through terracing and other measures, and enriching the soil with various nutrients so that plants can grow in the future, as well as planting trees so the soil will not erode in the future. If they do not do all of these things adequately, the restoring of lands will ultimately fail. Due to the immense scale of this and the fact that there has been about 1 million square miles lost, this will take many years and much time before the land is even farmable in the future. And if they ever abuse it again, it will still result in failure. So that was my presentation. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something useful from it, and have a good day.